They say blood is thicker than water, but sometimes, your own blood can drown you. I never thought I'd see the day when my children, those I carried through sleepless nights, fed when they were hungry, lifted when they fell, would treat me like a burden, like an afterthought, like a man without worth. But it happened. And it all started the day I said no. No, I wouldn't co-sign a loan for my son. A decision that, in any other family, might have ended in a heated argument or a few days of cold silence. In mine, it led to betrayal so deep, it shook the ground I stood on. My daughter, my sweet, dependable daughter, turned on me next. She kicked me out of her house like I was a stranger off the street. But I didn't break. I didn't beg. I made a move they never saw coming. And trust me when I say, by the time I was done, the tables had turned so sharply they left scars. Stick with me. What you're about to hear is a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and the sweetest revenge a father could ever serve. Let's begin. My name is Charles. I'm 64 years old, retired, and until recently, I thought I had a good relationship with my children. I lost my wife 10 years ago. Cancer. It gutted me. She was the love of my life, my anchor, my light in every storm. And when she passed, I tried my best to fill both our shoes for the sake of our two kids, Nathan and Elise. Nathan is my firstborn. He's 36 now. Always the dreamer. Always chasing some big idea or another. Sometimes they worked. Most times, they didn't. Elise is 33. Calm, grounded, sharp as a tack. She's married with 2 kids, and for a while she made me feel like I still had a place in this world. After my wife's passing, I sold our big house. Too many memories, too much silence. Elise offered for me to come live in her guest house. Said it would be good for the grandkids to grow up close to their granddad. At first it worked. For 5 years I stayed in that guest house, kept to myself, paid my way, picked the kids from school, even cooked when they were tired. I wasn't a freeloader. I was family. Then came Nathan's big plan. It was around Christmas. Elise hosted a big dinner, roast, mashed potatoes, wine, the works. Nathan showed up late, wearing some flashy watch I'd never seen, talking about a can't-miss opportunity. He pulled me aside after dessert. "Dad," he said, "I need your help." He wanted to launch a real estate startup. Had an idea for an app that could match renters with landlords instantly. He had the pitch, the branding, even a friend in tech lined up. All he needed was capital, and someone to co-sign a business loan worth $150,000. I looked at him, blinking. "Nathan," I said slowly, "that's a lot of money." He waved it off. "It's just a formality, Dad. I've got investors waiting once the MVP is built. I just need to show I have backing." I was quiet for a long time. My hands started to shake a little, like they always do when something doesn't sit right. "Nathan, I'm retired. I'm living off my savings. I can't take that kind of risk. What if the app fails?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You don't trust me?" "It's not about trust. It's about responsibility. You've had a few ideas before that didn't work out." His voice rose. "So that's it? You're just going to leave me hanging? You helped Elise with her down payment back in the day. That was different. It was a house, not a tech gamble. And she paid me back, every cent." Nathan didn't say another word. He just turned and walked out of the room. That was the last time he spoke to me. The silence after that dinner was deafening. 3 weeks later, Elise knocked on the guest house door. She didn't smile. No pleasantries. Just, "Can we talk?" I invited her in. She didn't sit. "I think it's time we find you a new place, Dad." My heart dropped. "Excuse me?" She crossed her arms. "Things are tense between you and Nathan. And it's making things difficult here. Elise, he hasn't even come by. What does that have to do with me living here?" She looked away. "It's not just that. You're getting older. The kids are getting older. We need our space. It's time." Time? After 5 years? After raising her children with her? "Elise," I said, standing slowly, "I gave everything for this family. Your mother and I. She cut me off. That was then. Things change. We'll give you 2 months to make arrangements. 2 months. I stared at her. My own daughter. The one who used to cry on my chest during thunderstorms. She looked me in the eyes and said, "You are not welcome here anymore." And just like that, I was homeless. I sat there for hours after Elise left. The house was still, but my mind was thundering. How do you go from being a father to being treated like a burden? I helped raise those kids, both of them. I worked 2 jobs when Nathan was in college just so he wouldn't drown in debt. I dipped into my retirement savings to help Elise and her husband buy that house, the very one she was now kicking me out of. And now, because I wouldn't sign a loan, the days that followed were bitter. Elise stopped bringing the grandkids over. I didn't hear their laughter through the window anymore. No more, "Good morning, Grandpa," or soft knocks asking for help with homework. Just silence. Cold, deliberate silence. I still cooked, still kept the guest house tidy. But now it felt like I was squatting in a place I had once called home. Then came the final insult. One afternoon, I walked up to the main house to drop off a package that had been delivered to my door by mistake. Elise wasn't home, but her husband, Mark, answered. He looked uncomfortable, like he didn't want to open the door. "Oh, thanks, Charles. I'll take that." I lingered a moment. "Is Elise around?" Mark shifted. She's with Nathan. They went to meet a contractor." My eyebrows furrowed. "Contractor?" He hesitated. "For the new place. They're talking about flipping a house together. Nathan's using the app idea to pitch to investors. Elise is backing him with some savings." I stood frozen. So that was it. Not only had Nathan gone behind my back to find another way, he had roped Elise into it. The same Elise who told me there wasn't room for me anymore. Mark must have seen the change in my face, because he quickly added, "Look, Charles, it's not personal. They just feel like you've been negative about Nathan's ideas. And you saying no hurt him more than you realize." I nodded once. "Thanks for letting me know." I walked back to the guest house with fire in my chest. That night I didn't sleep. I just sat at the kitchen table and stared out the window, thinking. That's when I remembered something I had buried deep. When my wife passed, she left a will. Most of her savings she divided evenly between the kids. But the house we lived in for 30 years, she left it to me. She told me to do whatever I felt was best with it: sell it, rent it, pass it down. I had held on to it, kept it rented out, and the income helped me live modestly. But now I saw something else. I saw opportunity. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. Nathan went on social media and began parading around like some rising mogul. Posting meetings with investors, selfies with Elise and the grandkids at fancy cafes, captioned with things like, "Family first, build together." Build together? Was I just forgotten? Erased? Elise didn't even tell me where they were moving. She started locking the side gate that led from the guest house to the backyard. Told the kids not to bother me. Mark barely spoke anymore. They had already decided I was out. I spent my days applying for apartments, but the costs were insane. I wasn't broke, but I wasn't young either. And I refused to let my pride die in some rundown assisted living facility. Then one day, I received a call from the property manager of my old house. "Hi, Mr. Charles. Just wanted to let you know the current tenants are leaving next month. You want us to list it again?" I paused. "No," I said slowly. "Don't list it. I'll handle it." That night I packed my things. Not because Elise told me to, but because I was done. Done being humiliated. Done being used. Done being invisible. The guest house that once held warmth now felt like a cage. And I was ready to break out. Before I left, I did one thing, one final, quiet move. I slid a letter under Elise's front door. Read, "Thank you for reminding me what family means. You won't see me for a while, but you'll feel me. Dad." I locked the guest house, dropped the key in the mailbox, and I vanished. I moved back into my old home. It was a bit dusty but solid. Full of memories. Full of love. It felt sacred. But I wasn't just there to find peace. I was there to plan. Over the next few months I got to work. I reached out to a few old friends in the community, people who owed me favors. One worked in finance, another in property development, and another was a lawyer. I started researching Nathan's company. It was flashy on social media but shallow underneath. No real funding, no patents, no user base. And the kicker? He had applied for a business grant using a portion of Elise's inheritance, in my late wife's name. He claimed she had inspired the idea, used old pictures, quoted her philosophies, and worst of all, he listed me as an early supporter in the proposal. That was it. That was the moment my sorrow turned to steel. You see, when my wife died, I not only kept the house. I kept a journal, a small black notebook filled with her handwriting, her wishes, her fears, and her hopes for our children. In it, she wrote something I'll never forget. If they ever lose their way, remind them who they came from. And don't let them forget what we gave. So that's what I planned to do. They had forgotten. All of them. It was time, they remembered. It had been 3 months since I walked out of Elise's guest house. 3 months of silence, no calls, no texts, not even a birthday card from the grandkids. But I wasn't sitting around sulking. I was working behind the scenes, quietly and deliberately, like a storm brewing far off at sea. Let them think I had disappeared. Let them think I was licking my wounds in some one-room flat, nursing heartbreak. They had no idea I was living in the very house their mother and I built from the ground up, a house that was now fully renovated, repainted, and reawakened. A symbol. A weapon. And I wasn't done. Remember that friend I mentioned who works in finance? Her name's Brenda. Sharp as a razor and loyal to the bone. Back when I worked as a bank auditor, she was the one who helped me dig into fraudulent accounts. Now she helped me dig into something else, Nathan's finances. And what we found was rot. Nathan had secured a small investor through a tech incubator, but he'd already spent most of it. Lavish branding. Flights to networking events. Marketing budgets that disappeared into thin air. And the grant he applied for in my late wife's name? It had been approved. They were expecting a public event and award ceremony in her honor. I wasn't just mentioned in the grant paperwork. I was listed as a keynote speaker. That's when I made my move. I reached out to the foundation, introduced myself, and told them I had some updated context they might want to know. At first they were hesitant. But when I emailed them scanned pages from my wife's handwritten journal, words that directly contradicted the claims in the grant, well, let's just say they were very, very interested in hearing more. They asked me to attend the ceremony after all, to clear the air, they said. In private. But I had other plans. The event was set for a Thursday evening. Black tie. Press included. Nathan posted about it all over Instagram. Honoring Mom's legacy, join us to celebrate her vision. Her vision? He hadn't even visited her grave in 3 years. I didn't comment. I didn't call. I just showed up. Wearing my best suit, freshly pressed. My wife's favorite tie. I carried her journal in my hand. When I walked into that auditorium, heads turned. Elise's eyes went wide. Nathan looked like he'd seen a ghost. I gave them both a smile. Not angry. Not bitter. Just patient. Dad? What are you doing here? Elise whispered, pulling me aside. I was invited, I said calmly. Didn't you see the program? I'm tonight's keynote speaker. Her face drained of color. You can't. Nathan, this is his thing. Really? I said, tilting my head. Funny. Because this grant is in your mother's name. And I believe she'd have something to say about how her legacy is being used. Nathan stormed over then, red-faced. You have no right to be here, old man. I turned to him slowly. No, right? You listed me as a supporter on your grant application. You forged my signature, Nathan. That's a federal offense. He froze. I leaned closer. You should have remembered who taught you how to write checks in the first place. He opened his mouth to argue, but the event organizer appeared. Mr. Charles? We're ready for your speech. Nathan tried to stop me, but it was too late. I stepped onto that stage. The lights were hot, the room packed. I could see Elise and Nathan sitting in the front row, stiff and pale. Behind them were reporters, investors, even some local politicians. I cleared my throat and began. Good evening. My name is Charles Adams. I was the husband of the late Rebecca Adams, whose name this grant is meant to honor. Soft applause. I held up her black notebook. This journal was hers. Every page is filled with her hopes, her values, and her thoughts about our family. And I think it's important before we talk about vision or legacy to ask whether we're actually honoring the person or using their memory. The room quieted. I flipped open the journal and read aloud. I hope our children grow to be kind, not just clever. I hope they never use our names to build illusions, but rather to build truth. And if they ever forget who they are, I hope someone reminds them. I looked up. My wife was many things. But a silent investor in risky ventures? She was not. And I can say with my hand over my heart, she would never have wanted her name used for something like this. Whispers rippled through the crowd. I continued, voice steady. The man who applied for this grant is my son. The woman who backed him is my daughter. And while I love them, I cannot stand by and watch them tarnish a name they do not deserve to wield. Not like this. Nathan bolted up from his seat. This is a smear campaign. He's lying. He's senile. But the crowd wasn't buying it. Not with the journal in my hand. Not with my voice echoing with quiet conviction. The foundation's board members stood. One of them addressed the crowd. We'll be halting the grant disbursement pending further investigation. The room exploded in murmurs. And just like that, the empire Nathan had tried to build on lies, manipulation, and family betrayal came crashing down. After the event, Elise approached me in tears. Dad, I didn't know. I thought Nathan was doing something good. He said you didn't care anymore. I looked her dead in the eyes. You kicked me out without even asking for my side. You forgot who used to rock your babies to sleep when you and Mark were too tired. You forgot the man who raised you. She cried, then real tears. Not for show. And I wanted to forgive her. But forgiveness takes time. You want to make it right? I said quietly. Start by remembering what family really means. And I walked away. I got home late that night, exhausted but lighter than I'd felt in years. The house was quiet, warm. I sat in the living room, turned on the lamp, and opened Rebecca's journal again. One last entry caught my eye. Read. Don't be afraid to be alone, Charles. You are enough. You always were. I smiled. Because now I believed it too. The morning after the grant ceremony, I woke up to a phone vibrating nonstop. At first I ignored it. But then I glanced at the screen. 14 missed calls. 5 from Elise. 3 from Mark. 6 from an unknown number. Curious, I checked my voicemail. The first message was from Elise. Dad, please can we talk? I didn't know he forged anything. I swear. I just wanted to believe in Nathan again. I'm so sorry. The next was from a board member of the Grant Foundation. Mr. Adams, we appreciate your honesty. We've decided to publicly revoke the grant and release a statement clarifying the misrepresentation. And we'd like to ask for your involvement in creating a real scholarship fund in your wife's name. Something meaningful. And then the last message was from Nathan. His voice was low, strained. You didn't have to do that, Dad. You humiliated me. Do you know what this has cost me? Everything. Investors pulled out. Elise wants to pull her money too. You ruined me. I stared at the phone, then turned it off. Because the truth was, I didn't ruin Nathan. He did that all by himself. In the days that followed, things fell apart for my son. The foundation statement went viral in our town. Son used late mother's name to secure fraudulent tech grant. Nathan tried to defend himself online, but screenshots of the journal pages, along with legal confirmations of the forgery, shut that down fast. His investors fled like mice off a sinking ship. The incubator that had backed him posted a public apology and cut all ties. Elisa's husband, Mark, confronted Nathan about dragging their family into a reputational disaster. And Elise? She withdrew every cent she had contributed to Nathan's venture. But the real punch? That came when I made my next move. You see, while Nathan was trying to build an empire on sand, I was building something far more solid. A foundation. Named after my wife. Fully funded by the money I'd been saving from the rent of our old house all these years. And now, with the backing of the grant board and several local businesses, it was real. The Rebecca Adams Legacy Foundation. Its mission? To provide scholarships to single mothers, aspiring nurses, and caregivers, women like my wife, who had given their all to care for others. We launched it on her birthday. Quietly. Gracefully. The news picked it up. The city praised it. People showed up at the launch with flowers, sharing stories of how Rebecca had helped them in little ways they'd never forgotten. I stood at the podium, surrounded by good people, and gave a short speech. This isn't about revenge, I said. This is about remembering the truth. My wife lived for others. She gave. She healed. She never asked for credit. But today, she gets it. As I stepped down from the stage, I saw Elise standing near the back holding her daughter's hand. She didn't speak. Just gave a small nod, tears in her eyes. And I knew she understood now. A week later, Elise showed up at my door. No kids. No husband. Just her. She stood there in the same spot where I used to wait to pick up her children from school. Her eyes were puffy. Her voice was small. Can I come in? I hesitated. But then I stepped aside. We sat in the kitchen. She looked around and smiled softly. Still smells like Mom in here. I didn't respond. I let the silence do the work. After a few minutes she said, I've been thinking about what I did. What I let Nathan do. I thought I was protecting him. But I was just enabling him. She looked at me, eyes wide and sincere. I kicked you out of my house. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I swallowed hard. I'm not angry anymore, I said. Just disappointed. I was there for you. Always. And when I needed someone, you let me become invisible. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small photo frame. It was a picture of me, her, and her 2 kids, taken years ago on a fishing trip. They miss you. They ask about Grandpa every day. I stared at the photo. My heart ached. Then tell them I miss them too. She nodded, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. I'll spend the rest of my life earning back your trust, Dad. If you'll let me. I looked at her for a long moment. It starts with honesty, Elise. Always. As for Nathan, he never recovered. His business folded completely. He was sued by the foundation for fraud and settled out of court. His social media following vanished overnight. He moved to another city. Tried to start over. I haven't spoken to him since. He tried to reach out once. Send me a letter. Read. You won. I hope you're happy. I burned it. Because this was never about winning. It was about remembering. In the end, justice wasn't served with rage or fury. It came quietly, cleanly, through truth, through dignity. through the kind of revenge that doesn't destroy but exposes. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But in my case, it was served warm at the table of integrity. And the ones who feasted on lies were left hungry in the end. Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who wound you the deepest. Sometimes family turns their back when you need them the most. But truth? Truth never turns away. And dignity once stolen can always be reclaimed. I lost my place in my daughter's home. But I found my voice. I was betrayed by my own blood. But I honored my wife's memory. And in doing so I reminded them all. You don't get to bury the past without burying the truth. And when you bury the wrong man, you just might rise again. Stronger, louder, and unbreakable.